Welcome. You've got
Counterculture
with
Lujan.
You are listening to
Counterculture
with
Aaron Lujan.
This could be called the Lujan virus.
We face a hostile ideology, global in scope, atheistic in character, ruthless in purpose, and insidious in method.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
Protecting your kids from the indoctrination of the media.
I call on every man and woman of goodwill all over America today to come back home. Come home, America.
Welcome. Today is January 10th, 2021. You are listening and or viewing Counterculture with Aaron Lujan. I am broadcasting from a little over 6,000 feet above sea level in my fourth attempt to record episode 70. Episode 70 is titled Siege of Capitol was a staged event to demonize patriots and distract from election theft. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. If you're watching the video broadcast, my afro is actually leaving the frame here. But it looks cool, doesn't it? I'm actually, if you're listening to the podcast, it looks like I'm, one of those fancy media guys in New York with this fancy screen, reporting live from Washington. I am Tom Brokaw. We got a great show lined up for you guys today. I'm really excited because I just finished 2 pieces of chocolate and I got wine waiting for me when I'm done. So I'm incredibly motivated. Plus, this is my 4th attempt to complete this. So if you have seatbelts, buckle up. If you have popcorn, throw it in the microwave. We're going to get crazy today. We're going to counter the narrative that we're hearing in the big tech mainstream media with regards to the siege of the Capitol building. I essentially want to lay out for you guys how this is an absolute staged event. It's a false flag produced and directed by Robert Bay or whatever that guy's director's name is. And it was specifically used as a weapon to demonize the president, his supporters, patriots, supporters of truth, and distract us from the biblical epic voter fraud that we just witnessed on November 3rd, and as the evidence has been mounting here for days. So give me about 4 seconds if you could be so kind. I am right now, in theory, streaming live this video on Facebook, streaming live on YouTube, Periscope, DLive, and Vaughn Live. And this, God willing, will be my very first Gab TV broadcast. Yes, Gab.com, the fastest growing social media network, the tip of the information war, the tip of the spear, Gab.com, tv.gab.com. Why do I want to start off with an apology? Well, if anybody had the unfortunate opportunity to see episode 69, I was in my car. It was on Wednesday, June 6th. It had been about a few hours after the siege of the so-called siege by the so-called patriots of the Capitol building. And I was emotional, and I essentially voiced my support for those people and for that activity. And I regret that, and I apologize. I was wrong. And allow me to give you some quick insight. I've been following this at least since 2004. And when I say this, I'm talking about our current geopolitical landscape, the truth behind what's actually happening in the world. I'm a very curious person, don't have any sort of professional training. I just simply I just felt like I was being lied to, and I wanted to know the truth. And since then, I thought, and I've explained this in a couple podcasts ago, that I would, get on social media and share people the truth, that there's this globalist agenda to depopulate the population and use vaccination and to put everybody into a social credit system similar to that of communist China. I was saying this in 07, 09, 12, 15, and I got unfriended. I was personally, verbally attacked in person countless times by the keyboard warriors that I was a racist. My movement has been called white supremacy. We've been called idiots. We've been called conspiracy theorists. We've been disparaged, demeaned, and ridiculed for years, and especially since 2016. So when Vice President Vice President Pence committed the egregious act of treason, violated his oath to the Constitution, stabbed America in the back, gave us the Judas kiss, took his Judas silver, and did not reject the fraudulent elector votes in the joint session of Congress, I lost my poop. I was upset. I was disoriented. I was angry. And I began to see images of so-called patriots, my team, right, wearing the MAGA gear, enter the Capitol building, and it satisfied my flesh. It was fine. I was thinking, man, we got to get our hands around Nancy Pelosi's neck. We got to get our hands around Chuck Schumer's neck. We got to take our country back. And I got caught up in the melee. I don't know if anyone's ever been in a situation where they just kind of got led by their emotions and later thought about it and said, wow, that was stupid. And my wife asked me, bless her heart. And I don't mean that in like, you're from Mississippi, bless her heart. I mean from like, you're from California and you've heard people say that. Because what that means to me is like, thank you. Like, that was nice. She told me, or she asked me, which was better. She didn't tell me anything. See, that's a wise woman. And shout out to my wife. She actually helped me produce the show today. So I kind of have a producer. It's kind of cool. I think she's behind me folding clothes. I don't know. I don't even know if she left. It's really quiet. I'm going to pretend she's there. She asked me, so do you think that was the right way to handle it? And I kind of heat and hot a little bit, because of course, you don't want to be wrong. You want to be right. And I kind of gave her like a yes and a no answer. And then as a few hours went by and I thought about it a little bit further, I was like, no, my principles are law and order. My principles are peaceful protest. My principles are simply Bill of Rights, Constitution, and doing things the right way. And an aggressive invasion of federal property is illegal because it's trespassing. And that is not lawful protest. Lawful protest is assembling in a public space without acting with aggression. And that did not happen on Wednesday, January 6, 2021 in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol building. And so I apologize. I was wrong. I should never have voiced my support. Now that we got the pleasantries out of the way, let's dig into it. I want to explain to you that it was a staged event. If you have to understand, and I'm sure you do if you're getting your news from social media, if you're watching the corporate media, the narrative, the impression that they're trying to have you believe, if you haven't already believed it, is that this was a storming of the Capitol building. It was an organic disruption of Trump supporters, and that is absolutely not the case. It was a false flag to the tune of 9/11. And before I get into the specific details, I should have prefaced this really briefly. Why would they want to stage this event? They being the globalists, they being the enemies of the patriots of Donald J. Trump. Call them Democrats, Demorats, globalists, the deep state, however you want to name our enemy. Let's call them the enemy. Why would they want to make you believe that Trump incited violence and got his supporters to storm the Capitol building? Two reasons. One, they need to demonize our movement. And when I say our movement, I don't mean our movement, we love Donald Trump, it's the cult of personality, we want him in power because he's a cutie pie and he walks on water. Not that at all. In fact, if anybody knows me, I produced a documentary in 2016 trying to warn people of the danger of Donald Trump. I have never been a Trump supporter up until probably about the last 8 months. Is really when I dig in and I thought, okay, this guy's for real. It's not about him, it's about the movement. He's simply the vehicle. We in the Patriot movement love America. We are in this for the preservation of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the rule of law, and to preserve America and these United States, this constitutional republic. Donald J. Trump is simply a vehicle. He's simply the tool at the moment, the figurehead, the brand. Trump will come and go. There will be future presidents, God willing. We need to ensure that the country and the systems remain intact, yet I think a lot of you, those who maybe aren't in our movement, those who are opposed to us, those who are kind of indifferent to us, think that, you know, all these folks there because they're waving those Trump flags. And visually, it's understandable. And then when you add in the manipulation of the corporate media, it's even more convincing that they're trying to frame this as this cult of personality of people that are worshiping at the feet of Donald Trump. Far from it. And I'll share with you a video of someone who actually said this. We're supporters of truth, not supporters of Trump. We support Trump second. We support truth first. And so, with that being said, going back to why would they want to stage this event, the globalists want to demonize us, demonize Trump for a couple of reasons. They want to do what they're doing right now, which is censor him, and they've already been doing that. They've already been able to do that through big tech. And the other thing is the 35%, arguably, of thought leaders, people in the Patriot movement who have been completely deplatformed from Twitter and Facebook within the last 24, 48 hours, call it. And the second reason they wanted to stage this event is that they want to distract you from their crimes. The globalists, the Democrat-controlled, the Democrats in Congress and Senate, and this will all be coming out probably in the next days and weeks, cooperated with the Communist Chinese Party, committed acts of sedition, the acts of treason. It's the reason why the mainstream media is using the word treason and using the word sedition against Trump, because it's a Saul Alinsky tactic. It's what these people do. What they need to do is they need to have a stage event that makes this look like what they're trying to tell you, that Trump incited violence, therefore we justify that he's censored, therefore it's justified that his movement's censored. And of course, it completely changed the narrative on Wednesday, January 6th, from the Congress just committed the most biblical act of treason and sedition imaginable, to look at these dirty Trump supporters. They are hypocrites because they claim to be law and order, and they're not doing that. So how is this a staged event? Well, number one, this was no storming of the Capitol. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you Exhibit A, which will require me, if you're a video viewer, to switch views. And I am going to share with you a video of Capitol building police in Washington essentially letting these people in. Give me 1 second here. Hashtag Ghetto Podcast. Here's the video.
And they just breached the Capitol again.
And as you can see, the Trump supporters are standing by while the Capitol Police remove the barricades, wave the people in, and I'm going to say the people because we're going to get into who these people are here in a second. Now, I'm going to cut to a clip of NBC News, and this clip is very interesting because what it shows you is the media wanted to say that they were storming the building, yet if you look at this video clip, it looks like video footage from your 8th grade field trip to the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where they're politely walking in between the red velvet ropes, taking pictures as if this is some sort of guided tour from some deal they got on Groupon. I mean, this does not look like a melee. This does not look like anarchy. There, I'm pointing to the police, kind of standing around, on their radios. This guy's doing selfies. He's live on Instagram, saying, "Hey, girl, hit me on the DM. I'm in the Capitol building." This does not look like the storming of the Capitol building. And then, if that isn't enough, you have these dudes entering the Capitol building, taking selfies with the police. So there you go, taking the selfie with the Capitol Police, and So therefore, it's not what the media is telling us, that it was some sort of storming. Secondly, the rioters were not patriots. They were not Donald Trump supporters. They were Antifa. And I'm not talking about your tia or your aunt Tifa. I'm talking about anti-fascist, the black hooded hooligans, the George Soros financed mob who were the rioters in the Capitol building. And I'm going to share with you a video that's not actually a public video per se. It was a personal video of a friend of my wife. Her name, I believe, is Alma Rivera. And she is a worship leader, a Christian worship singer.
Then all of a sudden you hear a bunch of sirens, you know, and maybe about 6 van loads of riot police then showed up.
Yeah.
And then they went into formation to the other side. But like I said, we were on, you know, the side that wasn't showing any issues yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we could hear the flashbangs going off.
Yeah, and the smell. I never smelled something like that. It's my first time. The smell was intense, and it was fine on our side for a little while. But then there was some sort of altercation because Antifa was roaming. I actually spotted a couple of them. They were on the very south side of where we were at, a couple of them smoking pot. You know, so it's not, you're not going to have a Christian or conservative, you know, where beards going down to their feet look like they haven't showered in at least a month, smoking pot. Yeah.
So we knew Antifa was mingling around, you know, with us.
They were mingling. I was worshiping, and they were in front.
Yeah.
Right in front, and some of them were taking pictures. A witch, she was dressed completely like in black, and you can tell, I knew it was a witch, and everybody knew she's a witch, because they don't hide anything.
No, they don't hide.
They don't hide who they are at all.
Well, this time Antifa was hiding who they were.
Oh, yeah.
They were hiding. They were trying to mingle with all the Trump supporters. I don't want to say Trump supporters. I want to say truth supporters.
Yes.
For truth.
For truth.
For truth.
Uh-huh.
And
I like that. Yeah. Truth supporters.
You know, so what happened was people were angry because, you know, of Pence's, you know, betrayal. But you didn't see anything, you know. And then you did see some people moving the barriers. Now it's coming out later on now that a lot of Antifa were actually there instigating, trying to instigate the crowd. And like I said, I know I saw 2 members there trying to act like Trump supporters. I spotted 2 myself.
Yes.
And then, but then the police started opening up. They didn't resist. See, this is the thing, and this is the gaslighting that the news does. And I was there.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah, we saw the whole thing.
The police started opening up the barriers on our side.
On our side, yeah, they were opening the barriers on our side.
The people came up a little bit. The police stayed there, and the police on their own, they didn't attack them or nothing.
Okay, you guys, there you have it. They saw Antifa. These people were bussed in. They had police protection. And we also have Federal Bureau of Investigation tweets, as well as photos. If you believe your own eyes, if you're not that indoctrinated, there's still hope for you. Here's a tweet from Paul Sperry, who I believe is a journalist, former FBI agent on the ground at U.S. Capitol, just texted me and confirmed that at least 1 busload of Antifa thugs infiltrated peaceful Trump demonstrators as part of a false Trump flag operation. These are tweets before Linwood was removed from Twitter. Linwood being President Trump's personal attorney. Indisputable photographic evidence that Antifa violently broke into Congress today to inflict harm. And I don't agree with him that they violently broke in. Maybe this was tweeted in the moment. However, you see the gentleman here on the right is the exact same gentleman you see here on the left. The gentleman on the right is posing as Philadelphia Antifa. It was phillyantifa.org is where this photo originated from. He's also inside the Capitol building. Remember Wolfman, the guy who stood over the speaker's chair in the Capitol Rotunda. This is him on Twitter in Arizona, Tempe, Arizona, Black Lives Matter March in June. And in case you forgot how I looked, blah! And then you go down here and you have the identifying tattoos of the first guy, and you have the photo opportunity of guys scaling the walls, even though we saw a video a moment ago of them being let in. So it just was a false flag, right? For the cameras, make it seem like they're sieging the building, even though we have law enforcement press releases, we have video footage of the fact that these people were let into the building. But the one that I find the most interesting is the one coming up here, which is this Wolfman guy. He's the one that's making all of the rounds on the socials and on the mainstream media, which I think is here in Washington Times. Okay, that's not Wolfman. Wolfman's in another one. But anyways, he's an actor, is what I wanted to share with you guys. If I would have scrolled down a little bit further, I would have been able to show this to you guys. There he is. There's the Wolfman, and it came out later that he's an actor, and he has been seen at all the other Black Lives Matter movements. And then here in the Washington Times, you have law enforcement source gave this day after account to the Washington Times. The professional protesters were in the crowd posing as Trumpers. They were preaching violence. As they approached, it was announced that Pence had said he had no constitutional authority. The crowd got mad. The agitators used this to whip up anger. If the feds are really intent on making the linkage between the instigators and Antifa, the evidence is there. So there you go, boom. You also have video on social media of people wearing Trump Make America Great Again hats, also with paraphernalia shouting Antifa, Antifa. I don't know if that's common at MAGA rallies for them to chant Antifa. I don't think it is. I'm obviously being facetious. These are Antifa members. It's confirmed. But if you need further confirmation, how about video footage of an Antifa member admitting that he went into the Capitol building? Here you go. And before I do that, I need to make sure that my audio is good, because this is Ghetto Podcast.
We need to keep living and praying. Do not be discouraged, because it's easy to get discouraged with everything what is going on right now. But do not be discouraged. And you need to relay what the Lord says. Jeremiah 29:11. And we recently we said that Bible verse, I don't know how many times, but now is the time when we need to relay the word of God and believe. Because we don't have any option just to believe in the word.
I thought hair dye was like a 90s thing. Like, you know, like that color of bleached hair. But apparently 97, 96 is back, big baby. And that ain't a bad thing. Moving along, Trump supporters attempted to stop the rioters, and I got it on video. And this gives you a really interesting perspective, because what this shows you are the people who are trying to break in and what the masses of Trump supporters are actually saying.
ACAB, ACAB. ACAB, ACAB. ACAB, ACAB. ACAB, ACAB. ACAB, ACAB.
And then you have this guy who looks like a Trump supporter. He's got some like Navy veteran hat on or something, taking the flag away. And then this person here is putting their hands on him, trying to get them to stop. And then listen to the crowd. F Antifa.
Because you can take anything but souls. And we are approaching the last hour. So people, they need to hear hope. They need to feel
So, if you are listening to the podcast, it's essentially the roof view of someone above the crowd trying to enter the Capitol building and surrounded by Trump supporters with just what appears to be 2, maybe 3 Antifa people trying to break in, and the crowd's yelling F Antifa, F Antifa, and you have Trump supporters trying to pull them away from their activities. And this was what I was trying to look for yesterday. I found the info on Wolfman. Viking guy photographed with Voss, the gentleman who's married to Nancy Pelosi's daughter, Alexandria. Yes, you cannot make this up. He's posing with the Pelosi family. This is his actor bio. His name is Jake Angeli from Phoenix, Arizona. There he is. He's an actor that attended a Black Lives rally in January of last year. The mainstream media claims that he is a QAnon supporter after Trump supporters claimed he is an Antifa counter-protester. He's not an Antifa counter-protester. He is a false flag stage event bona fide crisis actor to make the Trump movement look ridiculous and silly. Actor, voiceover, singer. I want to get this guy's music, though. I bet you he's got some jams. He did a Boyz II Men remix. No, I'm just kidding. And then here's all the other clowns that apparently were Antifa that dressed as Trump supporters. And they've all been identified on the FBI list, which is very interesting. Federal and local authorities are trying to track at least 36 suspects. And they have also been connected to Antifa. So you have a bona fide staged event. And if this is not enough, you have off-duty officers among the rioters. Yahoo News is reporting that off-duty Capitol Police entered the building waving their badges and getting into the property, and then began to riot, began to enter the Capitol building with the fellow Antifa members. And since then, I believe the chief of the Capitol Police Department, or at least one of the top-ranking people, has stepped down. So obviously, the Capitol Police wasn't very interested in stopping people getting in. They were very interested because their own people rolled them in like it was, valet service or something. They were escorted in. So I'm going to go ahead and hope that my screen doesn't freeze. So that's my evidence. That's what I would submit to you as why this was a staged event. What I want to touch on before we close out is this idea of hypocrisy. You know, you talk to your leftist friends, you jump on Instagram, and they're acting like this is 9/11 and this is the darkest day in American history, and oh my gosh, these protesters are so awful. Look what they did. They disrupted law and order. They're attacking federal buildings. And I agree with them, but the reason for their sarcastic tone isn't because I don't agree with them. It's because what I want to say to you people is save the manufactured outrage. Save it. Because for 7 months, we had Black Lives Matter decimate this country and our cities. 2018, the anti-Kavanaugh Me Too movement, feminist armada entered the Capitol building. And here's a picture on your screen of them taking over the Hart Senate office building atrium on Capitol Hill in 2018. We had a leftist bomb the Capitol building, or the 70s or the 80s. Her name escapes me. But since we all have very short-term memory, I want to go down memory lane. If anyone remembers way back in the old days, like 2020, I don't know if you guys can remember, like that year, we had BLM riots for 7 months. It was encouraged by Maxine Waters, by AOC, by the Democrat politicians, inciting violence. They actually did it. Nobody other than conservative or alternative media criticized them. Police force was used. 23 people were shot. dead. 700 officers were injured. One of the 23 shot was a black retired police chief. 150 federal buildings were damaged, and hundreds of small businesses were destroyed. What did the mainstream media say? Peaceful protesters. While they were standing in front of buildings on fire. Okay? So save me, the manufactured outrage. Okay? When police force was used in the Capitol riot, when it was condemned by both Republicans and Democrats, it was encouraged only by fringe political groups. 14 officers were injured, 1 federal building damaged, no small businesses destroyed, lasted a few hours, not 7 months. Okay? So let's just put this into perspective, because I think we tend to forget, and instead Mockingbird media manufactures our consent, manufactures our opinions. This is why it's called counterculture. If you're a video viewer, this was Washington in June of 2020. Okay, so spare me all of your outrage. But I want to dig in a little bit further and just go down memory lane a little bit further. And remember, in May, MSNBC reporter describes the Minneapolis protest as not generally speaking unruly as he stands in front of a burning building. In June, a mob throws a statue into a lake. In Seattle, they actually take 4 city blocks and call it an autonomous zone that isn't the United States of America. And there's rape and people were murdered in the country of Chaz, if you guys remember that. Totally ruined my plans to go to Chaz because it ended too soon. I wanted to take a tour. The riots and the looting went nationwide in June. In July, Portland rioters set fire to a bloody pig's head with a cop's hat on a U.S. flag. A man was stabbed for being a conservative journalist. The Portland mayor mischaracterizes the assault on a federal courthouse as protests. So the media can call a federal courthouse being bombed for days a protest, but what happened on Wednesday was a siege, an attack on our democracy. Okay? I hope you guys see the game that the media is playing, but I'll continue. In August, the great Senator Rand Paul was physically attacked leaving a Trump speech in the streets of D.C., and his life was literally saved by the Capitol Police. Kenosha, Wisconsin was under siege by Antifa BLM rioters. The D.C. BLM mob harassed white diners demanding they raise fists in solidarity. Portland rioters wheel a guillotine through the suburbs and execute the American flag. BLM mob causes a man to crash in Portland, beats him unconscious. Peaceful protesters in Portland set fire to county government buildings. Chicago looters attack a Ronald McDonald house filled with children dying of cancer. Totally chill. Totally chill to attack dying children of cancer. As long as it's BLM, right? But if it's those MAGA guys, oh, that was annoying. Over 100 people arrested in Chicago overnight amid rampant rioting and looting. Let's jump into September. Louisville, other cities struck by violence, riots for second night after the Breonna Taylor decision. Remember back in the old days, Breonna Taylor, that member sucked up all the oxygen? Yeah, we've all forgotten about that. Well, they burned Louisville to the ground. And I hope Kentucky's proud of me. I said Louisville. BLM protesters target Georgetown CVS because employees called police on shoplifters. 2 LA County deputies were shot. BLM chants, "We hope they die," outside the hospital. Black Lives Matter rioters ransack Rochester, New York. Peaceful protests, quote unquote, air quotes, peaceful protests pushed St. Louis Portland mayor out of their homes. In October, the National Guard had to be deployed to the city of Philadelphia after the violence and the looting exploded for 2 straight nights. Pro-Trump rally was attacked in liberal Ithaca, New York. And then in October, we rounded out the wonderful BLM movement with an old-fashioned BLM rioters damaging homes and stores in Wisconsin after the district attorney wouldn't charge a cop in a fatal shooting. So, and I'm just going to play with you this little dude here. Give me 1 second because you got to hear this guy's line little voice here.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing.
I want to be clear in how I characterize it.
ACAP.
It is not It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis.
They are strictly principled anti-fascists, and they've taken a principled stand to stand against white supremacists and white nationalists wherever they may show up.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal. Morally.
It says it right in the name. Antifa, anti-fascist, anxious what they were there. Fine. Listen, no organization is perfect. There's some violence.
And these weirdos just go on and on and on. Nice haircut there, lady. She's got a red afro. So anyways, what I also wanted to discuss was there was absolutely no incitement of violence. The narrative right now in the media is that Trump is inciting violence, therefore he must be censored, and it also creates the legal pathway for him to be arrested and never hold public office ever again on January 21st, 2021. And so and I want you to follow liberal logic here. It's a trip. You know, you don't even need to use drugs. You just need to follow the left, and it's just as much of a mind trip as hardcore opiates, probably. This is what they're saying. Donald Trump incited violence and encouraged his followers to take over the Capitol building. Therefore, we must censor him because that does not allow him access to these platforms because he's dangerous on these platforms.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
You're special. I'm special. And that was President Donald Trump saying, go home, be peaceful, and love. So here's the logic. We removed his video because he's inciting violence, and the video was calling for peace. Therefore, you can't see the video. Just trust us. It's an incitement of violence while he's denouncing violence. The censorship concealed Trump's denunciation of violence. So now we don't know what he said. We're just being lied to by big tech and the mainstream media that he was inciting violence when the evidence is exactly the opposite. But yet they're going to try to put this man in jail because they hate him so much, and they're going to take out 35% of the thought leaders in the movement because of this garbage, this nonsense. And now the mainstream media is pushing the 25th Amendment based on this alleged incitement and accusing him of sedition and treason. And that 25th Amendment is a removal from office because of this incitement of violence. And they're saying, look at the Antifa actors dressed up as MAGA people who were let in by Capitol Police. That's a siege by patriots. And then Trump says, I want peace. And then the media says he's inciting violence. We need to censor him. We need to censor all supporters. And then we need to get him arrested. That's where we're at. And that is the reason why I sit up here at 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday instead of sipping wine with my wife or watching a movie, because I'm literally not going to allow my children to grow up in a communist country while we're just being lied to. If my kids ask me, what'd you do if this country goes down? I'll be like, yo, I was, doing counterculture at 11 o'clock at night. So big tech is censoring all of us under the guise of an incitement. And furthermore, there was little to no violence. And for all intents and purposes, there really wasn't any violence when you consider the fact that There was no evidence of rioters hurting anyone. The Antifa people at one point punched Capitol Police, and at another point, Capitol Police shot and killed a Trump supporter. That is not the narrative that the media is pushing. They're pushing this narrative that it was a very violent and aggressive event, right? Without really any serious evidence other than their own people, Capitol Police, shooting and killing a Trump supporter, which is awful. And the last thing I want to leave you guys with is this staged event only helped our enemy, them being the Democrats, the globalists, the communist Chinese, and it only, at least in the short term, hurt the Patriot movement, the Truth movement, the supporters of Trump and Trump himself, and those who voted for him, because it undermined the Electoral College vote challenge. That was the day that, as I explained in the beginning of the podcast, Vice President Pence was supposed to go up and essentially let the people know, or not let the people know, but deny the votes, the fraudulent votes, and not certify the election for Biden. There was an opportunity for more opposition, for Republicans to come forward and oppose Biden's coronation, is what I'd like to call it. But because of the Capitol building siege, is what they're calling it, that those Republicans in both houses that were planning to oppose Biden backed down, and the procedural challenge and the legal challenge was killed. So any chance of overturning the Electoral College vote ended immediately when the siege began. So that was, if this was quarterbacked by Trump, this was a failure, and it was a really bad idea, because it was literally the last legal maneuver that Trump could make, the last angle, the last constitutional, legal, peaceful challenge he could make to this fraud of an election. So who did this siege really benefit? Well, it benefited people who want to censor Trump because they got away with it. It benefited the people who want to censor his supporters. It benefited people who would like to see him arrested because now they've been able to tag incitement of violence. It benefits the people who want to push for the 25th Amendment and have him removed from office immediately. It benefits Gab, although that wasn't really my point. But it really benefits the enemy in this narrative that patriots are bad people and this is a dirty movement. And it really benefited the people who wanted to steal the election because it completely removed all of the attention off of the fraud, off of what the substance of what was being said in the Electoral College vote challenge, but instead made it about, look at how dirty and evil the Trump supporters are. So I hope I presented enough evidence today, if you were brave enough to watch this entire video and open-minded enough, to see that this was a staged event to demonize patriots and distract from the election theft. There was no storming of the Capitol. The rioters were Antifa members. The Trump supporters were attempting to stop the Antifa rioters. A lot of the key people in the photos were actors, off-duty police officers badged themselves in. Capitol on-duty police officers opened up doors, opened up barricades. They weren't torn down. They didn't need to climb walls. And the hypocrisy in ignoring everything that happened in 2020 just underlines and highlights how ridiculous all this is and how manufactured the media makes these narratives to be. Thank you for joining me. This was episode 70 of Counterculture. I am your host, Aaron Lujan. I appreciate you. It's an honor to serve you guys. I am going to be coming through with a juicy episode 71, and it's going to, I'll give you a little teaser. Trump's going to win, and things are about to get real, as they say in the hood. So you definitely don't want to miss episode 71. Nothing can stop what is coming. God bless you guys. Peace.